beautiful souls. So today I'm going to give you a tool and an understanding that will really help with clarity. And especially during this time of unknown and us feeling up against kind of a lot of cognitive dissonance, which can create a lot of confusion in the mind, a lot of this energy of like trying to figure something out, when in reality there is nothing to figure out. That is the illusion of the mind that keeps us in this rat race, chasing all of these stories, thinking that there's a problem, thinking that we're separate from life. So the tool that I'm going to give you guys today is called the inner circle. And essentially what this is it's a kind of like a team meeting with all of the different characters or roles that you play in your life. So you may have heard people talk about your inner child, your divine masculine, your divine feminine, that you have this inner kind of like divine mother figure or this father figure within yourself. And we kind of get into a lot of traps or problems as humans because we think, or we fall into this belief or this a little bit of a mental trap, that we think it's just us as a singular object and that we're relating to the world in that way because we have this one name and we perceive ourselves to have this one body. And yet this body and this mind are always changing, and they're actually a collection or a combination of a lot of different attributes and qualities and characteristics and ideas and beliefs, and we're always shifting and we're always changing. And yet we relate to the outside world as separate from us because we think that we're this one focal point. And really that one focal point is just our sense of clinging to all of these different concepts and ideas that we attach to a name. So this is really big. And the reason that I bring you this practice today is that I see this practice as a stepping stone from between these two spaces, between these two worlds, between thinking that you are the separate self, just this body and this mind, and you're operating as if it's, I'm the center of my life, and it's life out there and me here, and they're two separate things. If that's where we are in the 3D world, and we're moving to the 5D world where we are one with all of life. There is no center point anymore. It's just I am the awareness that is experiencing this focal point, but I know myself as everything. If those are two worlds, and if we're moving from the third dimensional world to the fifth dimensional unity consciousness, what I'm going to give you today is a stepping stone or a tool for the mind to use to expand itself beyond just being this separate self, being more than just the human. Maybe you're not recognizing yourself fully yet as unity consciousness, but this tool, this practice, is going to help you to expand beyond thinking that you're just this one name. So what this is, you guys have probably heard a lot about all these characters that we have within ourselves. Even in psychology, they call this parts work. It's kind of a similar idea, but a little bit different. So in psychology, parts work is working with the different parts of yourself in order to give them a voice, in order to allow them space to express themselves. So we have an infinite number of parts, right? It just depends on your perception of it. So it doesn't really matter exactly which parts you use. Whatever's coming up for you intuitively is the part that maybe needs to be worked on for you. And I want to shift this from saying the word work to play. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something that's enjoyable, but that's also a tool that you can incorporate in either your daily practice or maybe your weekly or monthly practice in order to consolidate your mental space, your energy body. It's really an organization. It's like an organization internally. If you ever go to some kind of session and you leave that session feeling like, I feel so organized and put together, and like somebody just came through and like swept up everything in my mind and I feel like I have direction. That's kind of what this practice can give you. So because we have all of these different characters or parts of ourselves that we've built these identities around throughout our life, and different circumstances and situations in our external reality in our life bring these different roles out of us. So we've created actually many different identities, and they all fall under our name, right? So we think of ourselves as one focal point, but really we're a combination of all of these characters. And sometimes what happens is that different parts of ourselves are in need of different things. And especially when we're on this healing journey, as we all are, this organic and natural process that's happening through us that we don't need to force. But as this healing is unfolding through us, these different parts of ourselves are healing or being integrated into the whole. And so as that happens, a lot of times what these different parts of ourselves need is a voice or a space to be loved. So anytime that you feel triggered, frustrated, stressed out, anxious, there's some part of you, your emotional body is giving you a signal that's saying there's some part of you from the past that is reaching out to you and asking you for love. That's really what a trigger is. So triggers are our friend. Triggers are, my friend calls them inspirations, and I love that because it's really true. If I can tilt this down, I had to pause the video for a second because my iPad overheated. So whenever we feel something trigger us, it's a part of ourselves from the past that we rejected or judged, and we said, energetically, we said, it's not safe to be this version of myself, because we were met with something other than acceptance from somebody else who had just been conditioned, right? So when we feel trigger, really what that trigger is saying to us is that there's some part of ourselves, a role, an identity, maybe that's our inner child, maybe it's our feminine energy. There's a role within us, another version of us, that is reaching out to us through that trigger. It's giving us this little like spark of like, hey, I want to be loved, because that love integrates that role or that character back into the whole. So we're really going through, like when people talk about parts work in psychology, it's giving these characters a voice to express what they needed when they didn't maybe get that, to be able to release what is suppressed in the body. Sometimes when we don't say something, it gets suppressed. And to also express if they have certain needs that need to be met, right? Because that version of you is still living within you. So as you're going through your day-to-day experience, if you're in a situation that feels dangerous to that version of you who is not yet healed, then they're going to reach out to you with a feeling in the body to say, hey, I need something. So what this does is this tool that I'm going to give you called the inner circle, and this is just my own term for it. But essentially what this is having a team meeting with all of your characters or all of your parts. So you could do this every morning if you'd like. I know some people that like to do things every day just to keep that consistency. I feel like this is more of like a weekly or monthly thing for myself. You can put a reminder in your phone if that works for you. But incorporating this into your meditation. So you call in all of these different parts of yourself and go with your intuition on this. You know, I could tell you, call in this part and this part and this part, but we all have different characters. We all have different parts. We may relate to some of these with the same concept, with the same label, right? You may have an inner child just like I do, but those are different, right? Those are different parts. That's just a label. So you may actually have different labels than me as well. So for me, I call in my inner child, my inner teen, my divine masculine, my divine feminine, sometimes my divine mother and divine father. Right, that's what it means to reparent yourself, is calling in these parts of yourself and asking them, what do you need and what do you need to express? I also call in like my inner boss or inner leader. I call in, what else? You can go with this in so many different directions, but what I would say is ask your intuition, what are the parts or the characters that I'm feeling come up in me? Because chances are whatever's coming up is probably what needs to have a voice or needs to express something. So you call these all in, and you can visualize this in your meditation as a circle or a little board meeting. You can make this a ceremony. Get creative with this. Make it fun, right? We're more likely to continue with the practices that we do when they are enjoyable, when they're beautiful, when they're sensual. This is a big theme for me lately, and something that I've been getting a lot of messages about, and something I'm writing a lot about, as well as working in Oshun with, is we're moving from a paradigm where things were all about work and effort, and it was kind of this more outward focused, external energy, and it was all about kind of this like grind mentality, right? That was the patriarchy, that was the wounded masculine that we saw a lot in business, but also it overlapped into the healing. So we're moving into a paradigm now where everything is anchored in freedom, abundance. There isn't this scarcity that drove that feeling of hustle and bustle and grind. So now that we have this grid available to us that is all about freedom, abundance, beauty, joy, play, bliss, all of this, that means that this is the foundation for everything that we do. So in order to live in flow from this new paradigm and plug into this and be able to utilize the energy that's here for us, we really want to be asking ourselves, is the core of everything that I'm doing coming from that new state? Is it coming from enjoyment? Is it coming from my own sensual experience of like what I want to live from? So with this experience, make it something enjoyable. How can you make this really juicy and really enjoyable internally so that you will want to come back to this experience? So calling all these parts in, having a ceremony, having a meeting with them and going one by one. and asking each character, each role, what is it that you would like to express? And then further, what is it that you need? Sometimes the expression isn't always the need. Sometimes they just want to say something without needing something in return. And other times they might want to express something to just give them a voice, to allow that energy to move through you, and then to also allow them the space to ask for something that they need. So sometimes we go through our life and we're kind of dismissing a lot of the characters that haven't been healed yet within us, especially like our inner child, because we're in this society that's so programmed for effort, hustle, bustle, grind, rat race, that we sometimes forget about our inner child. And this spiritual journey is oftentimes about coming back to our heart space, right? Not sometimes, it is all about coming back to our heart space. And how do we do that? We tap into the wisdom of our inner children. Our inner children know how to play, they know how to have fun, they have all of those magical codes for us. So give them a voice, give them something to support you with in this life, in this moment. So play with this, have fun with it, and allowing all of these parts of yourself to have that voice to express, to release, and then to bring a little bit of attention to what each one might need. And then use that, don't just leave it, but take that with you and ask, okay, how can I now integrate this into my life? Maybe taking one bit of that each day of the week and bringing a little bit of attention to that. Or maybe it's as simple as setting the intention that, okay, I just went into this experience, I heard them all out, I know that they need these things, giving that to the universe and saying, all right, universe, spirit, please take this and weave these things into my experience naturally, right? We can receive, we can order off of the menu of life. We don't always have to say, okay, this needs to go this day and I need to help my inner child get this on this day. That's still a little bit more of that 3D mentality. Still perfectly fine, we can do that, it's a stepping stone. But maybe you're at the stage where you're just like, ooh, I want to see how I can play a little bit more with my universe, so I'm going to just give this to the divine and trust that all of these things, now that they've been given attention to, I can hand them off, and my higher self, the divine, knows how to weave those into my reality in the most joyful and sensual and fun way possible. So that is the inner circle. I hope that that brings you guys some clarity, some like inner organization in a time of a little bit of unknown that we're going through, a lot of unknown. I really pray that this finds you guys in a way that just brings you that feeling of centeredness and that you're giving yourself the full attention that these different parts and characters need in order to be able to heal through joy. So much love. See you guys in the next video.